Hello, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to build a sub 200R computer that can game in 2019. And you might be thinking, okay, I see hundreds of these. All have to do with a pre-built. No, this isn't a pre-built. You're like, okay, it's probably like really skimpy and cheap and has a lot of features that are missing out. Nah, there's no corners have been cut. There's a ton of extra features that you wouldn't expect. And it's under $200. So it's still a practical build, but there's so many extra features in here that I think it's cool. Quick, just gonna make sure I'm still recording because my recording keeps cutting out. So this is a case we're gonna be using just for reference. That's nice. So here's what the graphics card. The thing powering the build, in terms of what it can do in gaming, is a GTX 570. This has DirectX 12 support. It has over 1 GB of VRAM, and that VRAM is GDDR5. It has 1,230 megabytes, which is a huge difference. But it'll be able to be, you can play any game really with this card. You might have to lower down the resolution maybe to like something like 720p, 1900p. But for a lot of games, you'll probably be able to hit 1080p. Medium high settings. This is definitely going to be better than a Xbox One or PlayStation 4 or the current gen consoles. Now if you can spare a few extra bucks, because this is a $40 card, maybe get something like a GTX 670, GTX 670, as you're gonna have a lot more VRAM on that. If you can have like $50, maybe $60 for that. Now the 570, put that in perspective, this is a better card than the GTX 950, which is 4 years after it. No, wait. 950, I think that's 6 years after it. This card came out in 2010, and the 950 came out like 2016, I think. Yeah. And it's also better than the common $50 option, the 750 Ti, which a lot of people choose for $50. It's better than that by quite a bit. And for AMD perspective, the RX 460 or 560, which are common 60 and 70 buck cards, it's better than those as well. And it still has the DirectX 12 and new support. But some of the newer drivers, NVIDIA does this thing with the new drivers where they purposely try to make the card perform worse. So you think you have to upgrade, but really the older drivers you'll get a lot better performance than the newer ones. So just look up what drivers will fit best for you, for the games that you envision playing. Now for the motherboard, we got the Dell 1TKCC. This has an LGA 775 socket, yeah, and so we need that. It's pulled from a Dell Optiplex, so it's small. And it has DDR3, which is fast. It's a lot faster than DDR2. DDR2 was not really ready for 2019 gaming, or even like 2018 and 2017. Not really ready for games in the past couple years for sure. But DDR3 is still fine in 2019. And this was $10. I just copy and pasted that. All these prices are from eBay, by the way. Now we have the Core 2 Quad. This is going to be the CPU. These is 4-core processors. The 9550 is the most expensive one, I think, coming in at $22. But there's also cheaper ones that are like under $10, like the 8400, 9400, stuff like that. I would see which ones are compatible. All of these are compatible. I'm just not sure about the 9600. I might have made a mistake on that one, but every other one, I'm positive those are compatible. I looked it up. And then, is the 96? I don't know how that got in here, but trust me, guys. See, all the other ones are compatible. I'm just not sure about this 4 digits. So there you go. Now it's completely accurate. These are all compatible with the motherboard. And these will all range you from 10 to $20. So 9505, Core 2 Quad, or 9550, which is $22. That has 4 cores, obviously, at 2.8 gigahertz, but you can also always overclock. Now, the memory, we got 2x4 DDR3, which is like $10 to $15. It's cheaper if you go single channel, but dual channel is going to give you better bandwidth and performance for multitasking. Gaming. 8 gigs is enough for gaming. I mean, you could go 16 if you want, but really, if you're going to be upping the RAM for super extremely intense titles, this PC might not have the best performance. And like 8 gigabytes of RAM is slightly less of a bottleneck than a GTX 570 for gaming, because you can still play all the modern games fine with 8 gigs. Don't know why my voice died right there. And now here's the case for $30, and it was $50, but still, this is a good deal. DIY PC, and it's got RGB. It's got 3 120 millimeter fans, which is awesome. Look at that. That looks sick, and it is RGB. It's got USB 3.0 on that bottom slot. It's got this cool. It's got wonderful cable management. Right here and right here, these blue things. Those are for drive storage. So it's got beautiful power supply. It's very power supply, like, to hide the cables. It's very modular. It's a modular case, I guess. You really don't hear that term with cases, but like, it does hide the cables well, and also has nice drive storage, and it's USB 3, and it says B Gamer. So yeah, so it's a good deal. It can fit ATX and micro ATX motherboards as well. Still recording? Okay. In the PSU, you can go with an EVGA B stock, but they have EVGA B stock in their midweek madness sale, which is a sale they have on Wednesday every week, and you can every once in a while pick up a $15 or $20 PSU from them. Or if you want to go new, that's like $40 or $50. If you're gonna go new with something, I'll definitely recommend going new with the PSU, because the PSU is powering your build. And it seems like one of those dumb things that, it doesn't really have an effect on gaming, but if it dies, it might take a couple components down with it. So yeah, but the EVGA B stock, those are pretty solid. I know a ton of PC builders who say they ran dozens of these in builds and have had no problems so far. Now, an SSD, you can get a $20 SSD that is 120 gig storage, and this will still boot Windows, or you can this will have enough storage to boot Windows and maybe a game or two. And 240 gigabyte SSD for $30, that boot Windows, and then realistically a couple like games that require a lot of storage, because games require a lot of storage this time. So just within your budget, just see what you can get. An SSD is nice, it does make a difference. And yeah, so I mean, you could also go with a hard drive, a hard disk, what am I talking about? A hard drive, a 7200 RPM hard drive is what you're gonna want to get, because those are still cheap, but they're also like, I mean, you can get faster hard drives that are like 10,000 something RPM, but there's a huge price difference, and the 7200 RPM is still fast enough, and you can get those for really cheap as well. So just see how much storage you think you'll use. You'll probably use like 500 gigabytes maybe. Nah, probably like 3 to maybe up to a terabyte max. I would assume the max is probably going to be somewhere around 500 gigabytes that you'll be using. But an SSD is definitely essential, and you could get a 120 gigabyte SSD for $20 or 240 gigabyte SSD for $30 on eBay. And a CPU cooler, just make sure it's Anyone that's compatible with a socket 775 motherboard, and those will run you like $10. You can get some RGB ones too. So that's a PC. It's about $200, give or take. And it's a really good build. Like, honestly, the benchmarks with this, the graphics card is very nice. It competes with even some low ends today, like the 1030. I'm pretty sure it's better than the 1030, because it's better than the 950. So yeah, it's better than 1030, better than a 750, better than a lot of those $50 or $60 options. So it's really competing with a lot more higher end cards in the price range. And it's got an SSD, it's got RGB, so it's gonna look sweet. It's gonna play sweet, and the cost is gonna be sweet. So if you want to be sweet or whatever, do this build. It is a really nice build. Thanks for watching. See ya.